And inflation then affects a big part of investing, which is interest rates. Not just investing, but all of your lives. Interest rates are if you want to buy a new car and you finance it, that's an interest rate. If you obviously are changing, you're buying a new house and you need a mortgage, that's an interest rate. You're taking out a line of credit, that's an interest rate. And up till this year, up till Iran, basically, we were on a path where rates were slowly, gradually being cut, right? And that was why the Federal Reserve was in the news prior to this year was President Trump was saying, I want them cut faster than they're being cut. And the Fed's like, we don't really want to cut them faster because we don't want to, let things get out of control. By the way, I agree with the Federal Reserve there. I think they were on the right pace. Then Iran happens and they pause. And rightfully so, by the way. In fact, in May, I want to say. I could be getting the month wrong, but the point is right. The chair, the old chair, Jerome Powell, there's a new chair of the Federal Reserve now, but he was doing an interview and he said basically, we're waiting to see what's going to happen in Iran before we decide what to do with interest rates. And I was like, music, well, not music to my ears, but that's exactly what I'd been saying to people too. So I was like, well, great minds think alike, hopefully. Um, we believe at this point, rates will probably continue to go down from here. But for the short term, they're probably going to stay the same because they're waiting to see what happens in Iran, just like we are. The thing that would make me nervous, I don't like talking about worst case scenarios, and maybe this isn't worst case, but a thing that would make me nervous would be if inflation stays higher, and I mean, we're going up to like 5% here, not just 4%. But if we start getting to 5% inflation, I think they're going to have to start thinking about raising interest rates. Now, you may not remember off the top of your head the last time they raised interest rates, but you felt it in your investment accounts because it was 2022 was the last time they raised rates to combat inflation. The markets had a bad year in 2022. Bonds had a bad year in 2022. That's the first time I've mentioned bonds today, which is a big part of all of most of your investments. That might be half your account. Bonds don't do well when rates go up. In fact, there's actually a slide about that. So as they raise interest rates, the prices of current bonds goes down. That hurts all of us that own current bonds. So if, and this is an if, and I think it's less likely, but it's possible, if we start to believe that inflation's going up, they're going to have to start thinking about raising rates. Expect to hear from us about your bond part of your portfolios. In other words, we're going to want to probably make some changes for everybody there to kind of prevent a downside from happening. Now, this is an if. This is not even a prediction. In fact, if I were to predict, I think we probably avoid that scenario, but it's certainly possible. So don't be surprised if inflation stays higher that you hear from us about the bond part of your accounts. We're prepared for that circumstance, even if it may not happen.